When I first visited this house, it was on the 16th of June 1979. The house was known by a few people to be the house where Joyce set the dead. At that time, I had never read Joyce. I had no empathy or connection whatsoever with him. And I literally was on the edge of a small group of 8 people. Somebody knew somebody who could get the loan of the key. And we entered this building, which was semi-derelict at the time. And in this dining room, they read portions of the dead and they sang some of the songs of Thomas Moore. On leaving this house, I had a sensation that one day I would own the house and restore it. And I felt it very, very strongly. And 21 odd years later, I met a man at a funeral who knew the man who owned this house. And I met him, we had a sandwich, and I said, "Can I buy your house, please?" And he said, "Why?" And I said, "I want to restore it back to 1904 and see what happens." I believe Joyce's work as a body of work maps the decline of Dublin from the period of the Act of Union, and that decline continued until certainly the late 80s perhaps, and then feeding into the Celtic Tiger. So if we go right back, this house is in many respects a mirror of that social decline. I'd made no inquiries or searches that one would normally do prior to purchasing a property, because no matter what, I was going to buy it. But at that time, there were 20 people living rough in this house. The ground floor was completely burnt out. I never met any of the people living rough here, but we picked up 2 buckets of syringes, heroin syringes, from the ground floor alone. We then had to look at the structure of the house, and what we discovered was that there was a significant bow in the back wall. Essentially, it was bending outwards. And when we looked into it, we reckoned that we were about 3 weeks away from the back wall simply blowing out. And had that happened, the entire house would have imploded and it would have collapsed. So we had to very quickly scaffold the entire back wall of the house. And having done that, we then had to build a new upper floor, and then we had to build a new roof. What we have learned from the restoration of this house is that the language used by Joyce and the descriptions used by Joyce in The Dead are absolutely perfect to the inch relative to the internal geography or the internal layout of the house. The opening page where Joyce describes Lily the maid literally run off her feet. Lily was run off her feet because the food was prepared in the basement and she had to bring it from the basement to the ground floor and up 2 more flights of stairs to be served here in the dining room at number 15 Usher's Island. So you walk up the stairs, it's stained left and right where there once would have been a runner and brass strips. And there you see the large window, Georgian window with a curved top. In The Dead, Joyce locates Greta at the top of that stairs, 1 step down, listening to Bartle D'Arcy singing the Lass of Aughrim from this dining room. As you come further up the stairs to the 1st floor, immediately outside where we are now in the dining room, you have the location, and it's the very same balustrade, it's the same banisters, it's the same wood that you can connect with today. The 2 aunts were there fretting, waiting for Gabriel to arrive. We're now in the dining room of The Dead. We're in what is manifestly the most important dining room in world literature. I am in the seat where Gabriel would have sat, where Joyce's father would have sat. So on the 6th of January 2004, we decided we would celebrate the centenary of The Dead. So we had 100 guests on the 100th anniversary, accurate to the very hour of a totally fictional meal. And the men came in their Edwardian white tie and tails, and the ladies came in what we would describe in Gaelic as the Guna Nua, the new dress and with all their finery. And it was really a splendid evening. There's a deep graw or love for this story. You can see it in the eyes of people who come in. I can't tell you how many occasions I've simply opened the hall door and there's somebody outside with the camera ready to take a photograph of my hall door. And I say, come on in, who are you? I have the chat. And a connection always walks in the door. We've never had a disappointment, and it's really something that just starts us on another journey. And given that we have no map and serendipity, we go with the flow and we see where that journey takes us. And it's always invigorating.